الحمد لله رب العالمين. الصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه ومن اهتدى بهداه إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد. This is lesson number 5 of our commentary on Al-Nasiha Al-Kafiyah للإمام Zarruq rahimahullah tabaraka wa ta'ala. And we've reached to the second part of the book that speaks about things that are forbidden, and that things that we are asked to avoid. So it has 7 branches. Al-Matlab al-Thani ijtinab al-Maharim, avoiding things that are forbidden. And it is divided to 7 branches. Every branch is called al-Ghusl. Al-Ghusl al-Awwal, al-Ghusl al-Thani, that's how he calls it. So he says here, Al-Ghusl al-Awwal, al-Maharim al-Lisaniyya. The first branch is forbidden things that have to do with the tongue. والمحارم التي يجب اجتنابها في اللسان 4: الكذب والغيبة والفضيحة والباطل. Things that are forbidden due to the tongue are 4: lying, backbiting, scandal, and false things. So the first thing is lying. الفرع الأول الكذب. So this is how he divided all things that have to do with the tongue, and that has to do with evil things that have to do with the tongue. Of course, most of these things, all of the people who try to train others take care of. People who respect themselves avoid all of these things. But of course, religion came to train people and warn them from following false acts and from doing false things. So that's why it is very important that the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ focused a lot on these things, so that the real Muslim has to be pure from these things. It's very bad to see somebody who claims that he's a religious person, but he lies, or he keeps on backbiting others, or he keeps on doing false things and saying false things, or he keeps on making scandals. All of these things are very bad. But even though we can find a lot of people who claim that they are religious, they seem religious, but they don't pay any attention to these types of sins. So the first thing is lying. Of course, lying is bad. But there are lies that are more serious than others. So he says, فأعظم الكذب الكذب على رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم فيما يوجب حكما أو ينقض أصلا. The greatest lie is on the Prophet صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم. So you claim that the Prophet صلى الله عليه وسلم said so and so to assist or to create a rule, or to destroy another rule, or to go to another rule and avoid it, or erase it, or cancel it. So therefore, you have, this is the biggest lie that you can do. Say the Prophet ﷺ said so and so, so people say, okay, that means that we have to do so and so because the Prophet ﷺ said that, and you're lying. Or you said the Prophet ﷺ said don't do so and so, where actually it's part of the religion and it's part of the truth, and you go canceling it by lying on the Prophet ﷺ. That is a type of a serious lie and a major lie. ثم الكذب في الأخبار التي لا توجب ذلك عنده وإن أوجبت مصلحة. كصلوات الأيام والليالي الفاضلة. Another type of lying is that you claim that the Prophet ﷺ, there were some Sufis that claim that they don't lie on the Prophet ﷺ. They lie for the Prophet ﷺ. So they claim that they're lying to encourage people to be righteous, to be on the right path, to avoid bad things. So they just go. They don't memorize a hadith, so they just fabricate a hadith. So that's a big sin as well. والآيات وسائر الأحاديث الموضوعة وروايتها من غير بيانها إثم كالعمل بها. Now reciting verses or narrations that are false, fabricated, without telling people that these are fabricated, they aren't authentic, they are false narrations. It's a sin. It's exactly like when you go implementing it and acting according to it. وهي ما روي عن أبي بن كعب رضي الله عنه في فضائل السورة سورة. وقال الشيخ أبو عبد الله البلالي وأخطأ من ذكره من المفسرين. It's like the hadith that Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, or they claim that Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, Ubay ibn Ka'b, sorry, they claim that Ubay ibn Ka'b radiallahu anhu narrated a hadith. It's a long hadith about the virtues of the Holy Quran, surah, chapter by chapter. They say, well, the Prophet ﷺ says, who recites Fatiha has so, who recites Al-Baqarah has so, who recites Ali Imran has so. A long hadith. And Abu Abdullah al-Bilali was a great scholar. He passed in the year 820 Hijri, and he is originally from Jordan, from a village called Bilala, and he's a Shafi'i scholar. He was very concerned about Ihya Ulumuddin of Imam al-Ghazali, and he made a summary of it, which is a very interesting book. It is called Jannatul Ma'arif, the paradise of knowledge. The paradise of knowledge. So this book, Shaykh al-Imam Zarruq keeps on taking from it a lot of interesting information. So he says that Shaykh Abu Abdullah al-Bilali says, his name is Muhammad ibn Ali ibn Ja'far al-Ajluni al-Bilali. He says, وَأَخْطَأَ مَنْ ذَكَرَ مُفَسِّرِينَ. It was a mistake from the commentators of the Quran who expressed this hadith. So you can find in the book of Tha'labi, of Al-Baghawi, of Al-Khazin, of Al-Kashaf, Al-Zamakhshari, of others, they keep on narrating these false or fabricated hadith, not because they're liars, hasha lillah, no, but because many of them don't even have information about authentic or false narrations. So they think that it's authentic, so they just narrate it. And others, and it happens a lot, they say when we express or mention the isnad to the hadith, you can go and search for the hadith. Is it authentic or not authentic? That's up to you now. You can make your research. We gave you the way to make your research, so carry on and make your. That's the excuse of a lot of scholars when they mention some false or weak narrations in their books. وقد قال صلى الله عليه وسلم من كذب عليه متعمدا فليتبوأ مقعده من النار. قيل وهذا تبشير بسوء الخاتمة. وحكى إمام الحرمين قولا في الإرشاد بتكفير الكاذب عليه صلى الله عليه وسلم متعمدا وضعيف. The Prophet صلى الله عليه وآله وسلم says, whoever lies on me by intention, let him have his seat in hellfire. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim, and it's not only an authentic hadith, it's a mutawatir hadith. It is said that here the Prophet ﷺ is giving glad tidings. Actually, it's not glad tidings, but it's a warning that anybody who lies on the Prophet ﷺ, he will have a very bad ending in his life. Imam al-Haramayn, who is Abu al-Ma'ali al-Juwayni rahimahullah. Abu al-Ma'ali al-Juwayni is a great Imam. His name is Abdul Malik ibn Abdullah al-Juwayni, originally from a village called Juwayn in Persia, Iran now. He was a Shafi'i Imam. He passed in the year 478, and he was one of the great Imams in Shafi'i jurisprudence, in theology, in a lot of branches of knowledge. He has a book in the belief called Al-Irshad. So he says in that book that there are scholars who said that the one who lies on the Prophet ﷺ is not a Muslim anymore. He is an apostate, or how do you say? He apostatized from Islam. And if that means if he lies by intention. And he says that it's a weak opinion, although it's the opinion of the father of Imam al-Haramayn Juwayni rahimahullah. His father, Abu Muhammad al-Juwayni rahimahullah, he's the one who said that. But his son didn't agree about that. He says, no, it's not. You can't apostatize when you lie on the Prophet ﷺ, because we have to go back and see what is your intention to do that. If you claim, of course, it's a serious sin, but it's not kufr. That's what he wants to say. Now, he divided the lies to stages. The third stage is ثم الكذب فيما يوجب حكما من أحكام الناس من أحوال الناس، وهي شهادة الزور المقتضية للتلبيس على الحاكم الشرعي حتى يخرج الحكم في غير ما وضع له. لذلك عظمه النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم فقال ألا وقول الزور مرتين أو ثلاثا، وجاء من شهد زورا علق من لسانه يوم القيامة. Says اللهم صل على سيدنا محمد. He says here, look, the third stage in lying, it's when you lie in things that have to do with people's life. So you lie on so-and-so, you lie about so-and-so, which changes his life, and which makes the judge or somebody who is going to give a judgment on somebody else, which makes him make a false statement or judgment. And it's the witness that you witness in the judge in the courts, or any witness that you witness on somebody and you know that you're lying in that witness. So if the judge or anyone who's going to make the statements, if he depends on what you're saying, that would flip over the whole statement. And that's why our beloved Prophet ﷺ said, he was speaking with his companions and he was lying down. And then he sat down to show that he is now serious. And he says, and he kept on saying that the false witness, I warn you from false witnesses. He said it 3 times to show how serious this matter is. This hadith is in Bukhari. Not only in Bukhari, it's in Bukhari and Muslim. And he says here that the Prophet ﷺ says, anyone who witnesses a false witness, he will be hung in the judgment day from his tongue. But this hadith is not an authentic hadith. It's not an authentic hadith. It's not even known. You know, Imam Zarruq rahimahullah wasn't professional in hadith. He was a faqih, he was a Sufi, he was a theologist, he had a lot of branches of knowledge, but hadith, he just used to imitate other scholars. So sometimes it's like even Imam Al-Ghazali before him, a lot of scholars, they weren't professional in hadith. So that's why you can find some false or weak hadith in his book, but he doesn't know that, or he doesn't pay attention to that. Now, the 4th stage is when you lie. ثم الكذب باعتبار التحكم على الله بالحتم بجنته أو ناره لأحد وقد قيل إن هذا كفر وفي الحديث عنه صلى الله عليه وسلم من تألى على الله يكذبه من تألى على الله يكذبه. وهذا في غير المعين في النص منه عليه الصلاة والسلام في الجهتين. He says this is when somebody lies, when he claims that so-and-so will go to hellfire, so-and-so will go to heaven. How did you know? How did you know that so-and-so will go to hellfire and so-and-so will go to heaven? And we're speaking now about somebody there is no text that shows you that he will go to hellfire or go to heaven. And that's why in our creed it says that we don't claim that anybody is in paradise or in hellfire, but the righteous people, we expect that they will go to paradise, and the nasty and wicked people, we expect that they will go to hellfire. Okay? Muslims, all of them are going to enter paradise, of course, and all infidels, disbelievers are going to go to hellfire. This is our belief. This is what is mentioned in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. But does that mean that you are allowed to speak about so-and-so by his name? Are you allowed to speak about the specific person? No, you're not allowed to speak about the specific person. Speaking about a specific person is not your it's not your job, because you don't know. So it's a type of lying on the Prophet ﷺ. And he mentioned a hadith here which says anybody who lies on anybody who swears on God, God will belie him. This hadith is not an authentic hadith, and it has a bit. It's a bit weak, not fabricated, but it's weak. But it has an authentic meaning. It has an authentic meaning. No one is allowed to lie on or claim something without having a text. Now, the companions of the Prophet ﷺ that we have their names, that they would be in paradise, we know that they are in paradise. Abu Bakr, Umar, Uthman, Ali, Talha, Zubayr, Sa'id, Ibn Zayd, Sa'd ibn Abi Waqqas, Abu Ubaidah ibn al-Jarrah, all of these will go to paradise. We don't doubt about that, because the Prophet ﷺ said that. Prophets, messengers, that's something before that. And there are a couple of Sahaba that the Prophet ﷺ said that they are in paradise, like Hassan and Hussein, like Fatima alayhi salam, like Aisha, like a lot of Khadija, lots of companions, like the people of Badr, like the people of Bay'at al-Ridwan. All of these, the Prophet ﷺ said that all of them will go to paradise. They will never go to hellfire. So that's a promise. But somebody else, what do we say? We say we expect that. And then another stage, ثم الكذب على الكذب على المنام. الكذب على المنام لأنه لعب بما هو من أجزاء النبوة، وقد قال عليه الصلاة والسلام: من تحلم بحلم لم يره كلف أن يعقد بين شعيرتين يوم القيامة وليس بعاقل. Says lying in dreams. You claim that you saw a dream, but actually you didn't see it. So you say, I saw a dream. I saw a dream. And I saw so and so and so, to show that you are somebody who's special that sees beautiful dreams, or it's like a revelation that comes down on you or whatever. It happens with some people who claim that they are righteous and they are special people. The Prophet ﷺ says that anyone who claims that he saw a dream and he didn't see it, he would be asked in the Judgment Day to tie 2 barley seeds. Barley seeds, tie them in the Judgment Day, and he can't do that. You can't tie a barley seed. And that is because the Prophet ﷺ said that dreams are a part or a branch of revelation, are parts of even prophethood, not a revelation. It's part of prophethood. So playing with prophethood is it's a big sin. Another stage, ثم الكذب فيما يوجب فوات حق مسلم أو أخذ ماله كالكذب في ثمن السلعة ليأخذ فوق معتادها أو الشهادة عليه بما لم يجب أو الشهادة عليه بما لم يجب أو السعي للظالم بغير حق. It's lying on a Muslim to take his right. Actually, not only a Muslim, it's taking rights from anybody. And scholars said that Muslims and non-Muslims are the same in their rights. So you're not allowed to be unfair with a non-Muslim and you claim that he's a kafir. No. You have to be fair with everybody. You have to be fair with everybody. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَلَا يَجْرِمَنَّكُمْ شَنَآنُ قَوْمٍ عَلَىٰ أَلَّا تَعْدِلُوا. Not because you hate somebody, you become unfair with him. You're not allowed to do that. Because you hate him, you become unfair with him. No. So, lying to take the right of somebody is a very big sin. It's like lying and claiming that this is, for example, it worth $300, for example. And actually it doesn't worth that. So you just lie to take his money. Or you witness on somebody and something that it's not obliged on him. Or you go to somebody who is unfair, somebody who is a wicked person, somebody who keeps on taking people's rights, and you tell him that so and so did so and so, so that he would go and punish him with something that he didn't do. That's why he says here ثم البهتان. البهتان ورمي المرء بما لم يفعل مما لا تعلق له بك أو له بك تعلق. قال الله سبحانه: ومن يكسب خطيئة أو إثما ثم يرمي به بريئا فقد احتمل بهتانا وإثما مبينا. Buhtan is a big lie on somebody, but by something that he didn't do. It's when you accuse somebody by something that he didn't do, and he doesn't have anything with you, or he has a relationship with you. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, and anybody who commits a crime or commits a sin and throws it on somebody else who is innocent, he had bore a great lie and a great sin. That means if somebody does that, he would be a big liar, and that is a big sin. But you're not allowed to. It's a very nasty thing to claim that so and so is fornicator. So and so is an trustworthy person. So and so did something. So and so, and he didn't do that. So he accused him by things that he didn't do to make his image bad in the eyes of people. Not allowed to do that, and that's a very nasty thing to do. ثم الكذب باليمين بالله تعالى فقد جاء اليمين الغموس تترك الديار بلاقع. اليمين الغموس تترك الديار بلاقع وسميت غموسا لأنها تغمس صاحبها في النار. Lying by swearing, and you are swearing and you're not honest in your swear. And the more when you swear and you know that you're not swearing and you're lying in your swear, that is a very nasty thing to do. You say, Wallahi, so and so happened. Wallahi, I saw so and so. Wallahi, and you didn't do it. You didn't see anything. You don't have anything to do with that. You're just lying. And it becomes more and more dangerous when you do that in the court to witness a false witness on somebody. The Prophet ﷺ called it Yamin Ghamus. Ghamus comes from the word Ghamasa. Ghamasa, when you put something in something that is liquid. It says that it makes you inhale fire like when you put something in a liquid fuel or something like that. Put it in water, put it in oil, put it in anything else. So this swear puts the one who swore by it in hellfire. The hadith here, he mentions that it makes the lands, all of them, تترك الديار بلاقع. That means it makes the land uncovered, destroyed. It's a destruction to the lands. It's a destruction to the lands. This hadith is not authentic anyway. It's a weak hadith. So, وقال عليه الصلاة والسلام اليمين منفقة للسلعة ممحقة للمال. منفقة للسلعة ممحقة للمال. The Prophet ﷺ says that the swear makes your commodity sold. People just take it and you can sell it. They buy it from you because they trust you. But it doesn't make any glory in the money that you get. So the money you get it, you just pay it on your health, you just pay it on things. It doesn't stay in your hand. It just goes quickly. There's no glory in the money, because it's a money that you took by a false way. So it's not a glorified money. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. And the Prophet ﷺ says, "Man halafa ala yaminin wa huwa fiha fajir laqi Allah wa huwa alayhi ghadban." The one that swears and he is swearing a false swear, he will meet God Almighty in the judgment day, that means, and he is angry on him. لَقِيَ اللَّهَ وَهُوَ عَلَيْهِ غَضْبَانٌ. That means he is angry about what he did or he said. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. ثم الكذب فيما يوجب ضررا غير متعلق بمال ولا غيره، كمدح السلعة بما لا يوجب زيادة في الثمن، والكذب في الأراجيف المشوشة للذهن والمضحكات ونقل ذلك. فقد قال عليه الصلاة والسلام: كفى بالمرء إثما أن يحدث بكل ما سمع. وقال: بئس مطية الكذب زعموا. وقال: إن رجل لا يتكلم بكلمة يرضي بها جلساءه تبلغ من سخط الله ما لا يظن. So this is a lie, but this is another stage which is less than the first or the previous stages. It says lying, but in a way that doesn't affect anybody. It doesn't have anything to do with money. It doesn't have anything to. It just makes people buy that commodity. It's like when you say to somebody that this commodity is very good and I don't know what. You start lying so that people can buy it. But it doesn't change its cost. It's the same cost. It's $100, and you didn't tell them anything. It's $100. You want to buy it, that's good. You don't want to buy it, it's up to you. But it's a good commodity. It's I don't know what. People took it from me before, and they were happy when they took it, and stuff like that, so that people can buy that commodity. And lying by telling people false stories that make them become concerned and worried about what's happening. Like telling them, oh, you know what happened? The country so-and-so, there was an explosion. Another place, there was people, there's a thief that keeps on stealing women's closets and stuff like that. So-and-so happens. So you make people concerned and worried about themselves. But actually, you're just lying. Or you just lie to make people laugh. So you keep on telling them, you know what happened to so-and-so? You know what happened? You're just fabricating stories to make people laugh. Or you heard a story like that and just telling others to make them laugh. The Prophet ﷺ says it is enough for a person to, it's enough to say that so-and-so is committed a sin when he keeps on just telling stories. Anything that he hears, he just says it. So you're not allowed to keep on saying everything that you heard. Anything that you heard, you go and saying that. Don't keep on saying anything that you heard. Because sometimes you hear authentic things, sometimes you hear false things. And the Prophet ﷺ says that the nasty thing to commit, it's lying by saying they claim, and you keep on saying what they claim, and they claim, people will consider it as something that is authentic, not just they claim. And all of these are authentic narrations that I just mentioned right now. The Prophet ﷺ says that the man can say a word to please his uh, companions, and it will go to the anger and the wrath of God Almighty in something that he won't expect. He won't expect that it's a very nasty thing, or he won't expect that it's so serious uh, until that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was very angry about what he said. So be aware about anything that you say. Don't keep on saying anything that you hear. Don't keep on telling people tales and stories that you don't know. Don't keep on mentioning things without being sure about it. Because all of that makes your narrations untrusty. People won't trust your stories anymore. And you know, in our environments, you can know that so and so, when he says stories, don't pay attention to him, because he just says things that don't happen. And on the other side, you can find people who are very neat in narrating, so they don't say things except if when they are sure about that. Another stage: ثم الكذب في المدح لتحصيل منفعة والكذب في الوعد يخلفه والكذب في تزكية المرء لنفسه لتحصيل غرض. وقد قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم إذا مدح أحدكم أخاه فليقل أحسبه ولا أزكي على الله أحدا. وقال عليه السلام ثلاث من كن فيه فهو منافق: إذا حدث كذب، وإذا وعد أخلف، وإذا اؤتمن خان. وقال المتشبع بما لم يعطه كلابس ثوبي زور. ونهى عن النجش، وهو أن يزيد في السلعة لا لرغبة بل ليخدع غيره. So he says, lying to benefit from something, and lying by giving an oath or a promise, but you don't fulfill it. I promise you that I will do so and so. You don't do anything. And praising yourself just to tell people and to take from them things. So you say, I'm a scholar, so they come to you and study, and then you're not a scholar actually. Say, I'm knowledgeable in this branch of knowledge, but you're not knowledgeable in that branch of knowledge. Things like that. So you claim things and you're just lying. The Prophet ﷺ says, if somebody praised his brother, let him say, I think that he's like that. And I don't praise anybody in the eye of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Why? Because we don't know the secrets of everybody. He seems good and righteous, but he can be not righteous. You don't know when he goes home and he sits down by himself, what does he do? And many times we discover that people that we thought that they were righteous, and all of a sudden we discover that they make nasty acts. So you have to be aware about this thing. Never praise somebody unless the Prophet ﷺ Allah praised them or the Prophet ﷺ praised them. More than that, you say, I think that he's like that. I believe according to what I see, and Allah knows the best. These are words to use. This hadith is in Bukhari and Muslim. It's an authentic hadith. طيب. And the Prophet ﷺ says 3 things. If they were in somebody, he's a hypocrite, munafiq. When he speaks, he lies. When he promises, he breaks his promise. When you give him a trust, he doesn't take care of it. He betrays you. And the Prophet ﷺ says the one that claims things that he doesn't have is like somebody who is wearing 2 false clothes. And this is in Bukhari and Muslim as well. And the Prophet ﷺ prevented us from what is called a najash. What is najash? Najash is when you go to the market and you want to sell something. So you tell people, look, guys, I want to sell this book, for example. How much would you like to buy it with? The first guy says, I'll buy it with 10. The other would say, well, 12, 13. So you have a friend there, and he claims that he wants to buy it, and so he raises the cost not to buy it, but to make it in a high cost so that you would benefit from that. So he says, I'll buy it with 20. But he's not going to buy it by 20. He just says that. So everybody would say, okay, 25, 26. That is called najash, and that is bad because it makes things difficult for people, and it makes you take people's money in a way that is not a legitimate way. Now, after all of this story, there are some cases that we are allowed to lie in them. Allowed to lie? Yes, allowed to lie. What are these things that we are allowed to lie in them? He says, ويباح الكذب في مواضع منها الجهاد لتفريق كلمة الكفار وكذا الفسقة المجاهرين عند الأمن من شرورهم. In jihad, battles, fighting against the enemies, and you tell them a lie to make them get scattered. Like, for example, telling them that we have a huge army that is going to destroy you, that is going to do I don't know what. Or you tell them, be aware, part of our army is behind you and I don't know what. Or in the battles, if somebody is captured, he's not allowed to tell them where his friends are, and he could just lie on them. All of these things they have to do in battles, because the Prophet ﷺ says, Al-Harbu Khuda. I mean, the war is a trick. You have to trick your enemy. You're not supposed to tell your enemy how much you are, where are you, what are your strategies and stuff like that, or else they're going to beat you and take your land, and that's it. The same thing with nasty people. For example, there are people who are bad guys that are doing bad things, so you just lie on them to make them get scattered. Or somebody who are gathered to drink or to bother people, or all these things. ثم الكذب في الذب عن مال مسلم وعرضه من ظالم. Lying to protect money or a Muslim from somebody who is unfair. He wants to take his money. He wants to kill him, for example. He wants to prison him. And he's doing that unfairly. So you're not supposed to tell him he came from there, he went there, I have him in my house, or he did so and so. You're not allowed to say that. So you're allowed to lie on him. No, I never saw him. He didn't appear. Oh yeah, he just traveled yesterday from so and so. ثم الكذب في ستر معصيته أو معصية غيره. You are allowed to lie if you commit a sin and you don't want anybody to know about that. So if somebody comes and tells you, did you fornicate yesterday? And subhanAllah, you made a sin. Or did you kiss, were you with so-and-so and you kissed her yesterday? You're not going to go. Or so subhanAllah, a woman that had a bad beginning and then she repented. So when she comes to get married, her husband or the one that wants to marry her tells her, did you fornicate in your life? She says, no, I never fornicated. She's not supposed to tell him that she fornicated and she did a lot of bad things in her life. She's not supposed to say that, because there is nothing to benefit about that, especially that she repented now. So this is a type of Even the same thing, if you want to avoid, uh, the Prophet ﷺ, when Ma'iz came to him, and he said, Messenger of Allah ﷺ, I commit adultery. You know what does that mean? That means he's going to stone him to death. So the Prophet ﷺ wanted to put in his mouth something so that he would go. He said, well, maybe you just kissed. You just touched. So if he says, okay, yes, that's what I did, he will go and he won't be punished. And he can repent by himself. But he insisted. He said, no, I fornicated. I did that, etc. And he was stoned to death. Now Allah forgave him for what he did because of the punishment. The same thing about Al-Ghamidiyya, the same thing. So it is permissible to avoid being punished, especially if it's not somebody else's right. It's your right. It's a sin between you and God. So you can hide your sins without telling anybody about it. That's what Shaykh Rahimahullah says even in his commentary on Risala. He says, you are not supposed to confess about a sin that you did unless it's connected to somebody else's right. ثم الكذب في إصلاح ذات البين. Yes, you can lie to make a good relationship with others. Two Muslim brothers or sisters had a problem with each other, and their relationship got cut. So you go to a part of them and tell them, okay, look, what so-and-so, you just angry that day. He didn't mean to do so-and-so. Actually, he loves you. He was sitting with me. He said so-and-so about you, but actually nothing happened. You're just fabricating stories to make the relationship again between these two brothers. So he says, oh, really? Is that true? And he goes to the other guy, really? He did that? I'm so sorry. Actually, I didn't want this to happen between us. Okay, just tell him that I forgave him. We don't have any problem with each other. And the relationship becomes again good. So it's a way to make brothers close to each other. And there are several hadith about this that you can read them in Riyadh al-Salihin, in Al-Adhkar, and other books. Even in the commentaries on this book. The commentary on this book, he narrated these hadith. The same thing, he says, ثم الكذب في إجبار قلب المرأة والولد. Lying to make your wife pleased or your children pleased. But actually, it's not in a way that drops any rights. But actually, I can't agree about saying that the child, you lie on him. You can lie on the wife because there are narrations that say that. But the child, I don't have anything that says that. Because look, what they say in the commentary, lying on the wife like what? Like when you say to her, I never saw a beautiful woman like you in my whole life. You are the first one that I met in my life. You are words that make her pleased, that make her... You are the most beautiful woman in my eye. But actually, she's not so beautiful. But you're just telling her that. There's no problem about that. It's beautiful words that make the life beautiful. But to tell the child, for example, if you go to school, I'll buy so-and-so for you, and I'll give you so-and-so, and I'll do so-and-so. He says, for example, if the child doesn't want to go to school, except when you promise him or you threat him, if you don't go to school, I'll punish you, I'll beat you. And actually, you're not going to beat him. Maybe. It's a threat. But when you promise him and tell him that you're going to buy so-and-so for him, you have to fulfill your promise. The Prophet ﷺ once saw somebody giving, putting something in his hand, and he said, "Okay, child, take, take, take," so the child could come. He said, "What were you going to give him?" He said, "Some dates." He said, "If you didn't give him the dates, it'll be a lie." So you're not allowed to promise your children, or else you're going to teach them to be liars. You're going to teach them to lie, and you are going to make them lose respect. They won't respect you anymore. So be aware about that. But to lie on the wife is, and she lies on him as well, and she says, "Well, actually, you're the most handsome person that I saw in my. You're the best man in my life. It's something that is permissible. وبالجملة في الكذب لا يباح لجلب النفع مجرد، وإنما يباح لدفع ضرر إذا كان أعظم مفسدة منه. So lying is not allowed to be except to just have a benefit, to benefit. No, it is allowed if you avoid something bad, if it's more bad than if you say something true. So in these cases that we mentioned, if you are true with them, for example, she says, "Okay, yeah, I fornicated a lot in my life, and now I repented." He said, "Okay, forget about it. I won't marry you anymore." Or if she tells him, "Darling, did you ever see a woman better than me?" He says, "Yes, I saw a lot of women better than you." She says, "Oh my God, you're going to break her heart." Or anything like that, or the enemy comes, "How much is your army?" He says, "Yeah, my army is so and so, and they just went from there." Allahu Akbar. They're gonna fight against Muslims and kill them. Are you happy for that? Or somebody is in your house, you were hiding him, and he didn't commit any crime, and the authorities, who are unfair authorities, come and say, "We want so and so. Is he in your house?" You say, "Yes, he's in my house. Just take him." So you're going to be a part of the ones that treated the guy unfairly. وفي المعاريض مندوحة، فقد كان السلف إذا طلب بعض السلف إذا طلب في البيت وكان هناك يقول لأهله: "قل لهم اطلبوه في المسجد". وكان أبو بكر رضي الله عنه يأمر جاريته بذلك. ولن يبلغ العبد حقيقة الصدق حتى يصدق حيث لا ينجيه إلا الكذب، ويعين على الصدق في القول قراءة إنا أنزلناه في ليلة القدر، كما أشار إلى ذلك أبو الحسن الشاذلي رضي الله عنه ونفع به مني وكرمه ولطفه. There's something called ma'arid, which is you didn't say a lie, but you make the one hear something and understand it as in another way. For example, many of the Salaf used to, when somebody comes and knocks their door and they're busy, they don't want to meet him, they tell their children, or their family, tell them, "Go to the masjid." That means search for him in the masjid. They didn't tell him that he's not at home, but they just made him understand that he might be in the masjid. And Abu Bakr radiallahu anhu used to ask his servant to say to people something like that, because they're busy. So it's a way to avoid lying, and that's better. Train your tongue to never lie. Train your tongue to never lie. Even if you are squeezed, except in serious matters that we just mentioned. That's why he says the Muslim won't be a real, an honest person except when he doesn't lie in places that a lie would rescue him. But this has to be understood in a proper way. This has to be understood in a proper way. Or else, in the cases that we mentioned, if he says a lie, if he doesn't lie, and he says something that is true, that would lead to a disaster, something that is more than what he avoided. It says what helps you to be always honest is to recite إِنَّا أَنزَلْنَاهُ فِي لَيْلَةِ الْقَدْرِ. Read it a lot. But he says that's like Sheikh Abu Hassan Shadili says that. But actually I don't have any authentic uh, evidence that supports what they're saying. But he says here in the commentary that, well, actually, there isn't anything to prove that. I don't know where did they get this from. It's only sayings. Uh, they say that the surah, it contains words from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and when you read it with this intention, its glory would protect you. But why exactly this surah? I don't have anything to prove that. I don't say anything about that. It might be an innovation. The second branch here says al-ghiba, backbiting. Backbiting is the second branch. Backbiting is when you mention your brother, mention something in your brother that if he hears it, he would hate it. The Prophet ﷺ says it's more than 30 fornications in Islam. 30 fornications in Islam. Oh, that's a horrible thing. That's a horrible thing to say that it's more than 30 fornications in Islam. But there is a hadith that supports that, but it's not an authentic hadith. But it has several narrations that support it according to Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar rahimahullah. In the Quran, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَلَا يَغْتَبْ بَعْضُكُمْ بَعْضًا أَيُحِبُّ أَحَدُكُمْ أَن يَأْكُلَ لَحْمَ أَخِيهِ مَيْتًا كَمَا فَكَرِهْتُمُوهُ. And don't backbite each other. Would you like to eat the flesh of your dead brother and you would hate that? And you hate him? So backbiting is like eating the flesh of your brother that is dead. Imagine that somebody died and you go eating his flesh. It's very nasty and very bad. And the most nasty one of this, which if you backbite by this, it would lead to a statement like when you accuse him to fornicate or something. You say, well, that guy is a fornicator. He commits adultery a lot. Well, that would lead you to go to the court and be punished according to the Sharia law. Or anything that would make people insult him. Like when you say, well, he did so and so, he keeps on smoking and drinking, he keeps on following girls and stuff like that. Or she keeps on speaking with men, or what, that would change her chastity in the eyes of people. And less than that, when you just mention something in the person, like when you say, well, actually he keeps on walking in an improper way, or he has only one eye, or his clothes are ugly, he doesn't know how to dress. Especially women keep on saying things like that. Or his car is a nasty car, or his dog keeps on bothering people. He bothers people with his dog, or anything that has to do with that. Or his family is a small family, nasty family. Or his parents are kuffar. They're not even Muslims. He doesn't know anything to do. He has his parents. He didn't even benefit his parents, and he's just speaking. All of these things are backbiting. And people don't pay attention to that. It is permissible in narrations. So, because if you don't say, this narrator is a liar, this narrator is not trustworthy, this narrator is weak, you can't know if the hadith is authentic or not authentic. And that would lead to narrating fabricated and unauthentic and weak narrations. And it is permissible in witnesses, so that you go to the judge and you say, that guy that you are taking his witness, he's known as a liar. How can you trust his witness? So that's something permissible. And if somebody asks you a consultation, so he wants to marry a woman or she wants to marry a man, you say, no, they're not proper for you. That woman is not good for you. So that's consultation. Or in fatwa, somebody comes and says, well, so-and-so did so-and-so, so what should I do for that? My brother, etc. Or when you speak about warn people from somebody who is an innovator, they might go and take knowledge from him or so and so, so you warn him from that. Especially if he is known by that innovation or that bad acts. The Prophet ﷺ, when he was asked about consultation of marriage, he said that Abu Jahl keeps on beating women. When Fatima bint Qais asked him, she said, two guys came to marry me, Muawiyah and Abu Jahl. He said, no, Muawiyah is very poor. Abu Jahl keeps on beating women. So don't marry none of these two guys. And when Hind, the wife of Abu Sufyan, came to him, she said, my Abu Sufyan is a miser person, and he doesn't give me money. So am I allowed to take some of his money for my benefit and my children's benefit? He said to her, take it in a proper way. So he didn't tell her, fear Allah, how can you say that about your husband? No, he didn't say that at all. So all this is permissible. It is said that the most worst backbiting is the way that a lot of religious people do. You talk about your brother in a way that you show that you feel sorry for him, but actually you're backbiting him. First say, well, poor guy, poor so-and-so, actually, I saw him with girls and he's not like he was before. Well, poor guy, so-and-so, I saw him dancing and singing songs, or I saw him, I don't know. You as if you're sorry for him, but actually you're backbiting him. And it says here, and when you say something that you are expressing things that you saw by your eye, and what the one who did it doesn't have any problem about that, so you say that. You say, well, actually, so and so, I saw him walking in the street and smoking. He's not allowed to do that. Smoking is haram. Or I saw him in a bar sitting down with people drinking. He's not allowed to do that. And you're actually angry about what you saw. So this is not. And even if you speak about somebody that people don't know, say, well, someone did so and so. You didn't mention him, so there is no problem about. Or you spoke in general. Speaking in general is not backbiting. But the main way to avoid backbiting is to know that it's very nasty and that's haram. And remember always that you have lots of bad things in yourself. So take care of yourself and forget about people. Don't pay attention to people. Pay attention about yourself. And the one that keeps on backbiting is very weak to prepare himself, or to train himself, or to improve himself. So if you can't improve yourself, he can't improve himself as well. So take care of yourself and improve yourself and forget about people. The Prophet ﷺ says, anyone who keeps on searching for the shortage of others, Allah will show his shortage. And he will show his shortage near people, even if he was inside his houses. He will make it near everybody. And he said, don't show that you are, shamata. The word shamata, that means you're making fun of somebody because of bad things that he did or bad acts that he did, or else Allah will make him better than you, and he will make that the same thing in you. And there are a lot of things about that scholars said many times. People spoke about others, and then they committed the same crimes. So never speak about others. Take care of yourself and train yourself and improve yourself and pray Allah for others. Scholars say that backbiting is a disaster on religion, and it's a garden for the kings. They keep on sitting down and speaking about others, and it's places of greedy eating for women, and it's a nasty place for the pious people. It's like garbage for nasty people, and it's like dessert for scholars, and it's like things that people do that dogs eat later. Idamu kilab nas, things for dogs that people, all of them, just use. Ibrahim ibn Adham says that I went a lot with people of God in the mountain of Lebanon, righteous people who keep on just worshiping Allah, and they said, "Oh Ibrahim, when you go back to the people of this life, tell them that who keeps on eating a lot, he doesn't feel the sweet of worshiping Allah, and who sleeps a lot, he doesn't have glory in his life, and who keeps on speaking and backbiting others, he won't go out of this life in a good way." And if somebody tells you, fear Allah and stop backbiting people, and you tell him, well, I'm not backbiting, I'm just saying what is in him. And this, many times people say, I didn't say anything, I didn't lie on him. It says that might be kufr or close to kufr, because it's backbiting. The Prophet ﷺ says, Al-ghibatu dhikruka akhaka bima yakrahu fi ghaibatihi. When you say something in somebody without him being existent, or that's backbiting. He says, or if I said something that doesn't that he didn't do, he said, or he doesn't have, he says that's lying on him. That would be lying on him. The last thing is scandal. The scandal is 4 types. It's going to unfair people like governors and rulers and stuff like that, and telling them that so-and-so did so-and-so. You keep on telling them what people did. And he says, I searched for that, and I discovered that most of the people who do that are bastards. That means people don't have their parents. Unlegitimate people. And there was somebody who went to Ibn Abbad, the Andalusian governor, and told him that there is so-and-so who took the money of an orphan. So he told them the money is the fruit of God, and the child, Allah will improve him, and the one who keeps on telling people about others, Allah will curse him. So he repented. He says, I'm sorry. And so the first one is telling people about others. The second one is lying on others. It's like when you go to somebody in his face and telling him something bad about him, or saying something that is not in him, and that is a big lie on him. The third one is telling somebody what others said about him. That's very nasty. And the Prophet ﷺ said, who does that won't enter paradise. And he said about 2 who were in the graves and they were tortured. He said one of them used to tell stories from others to others. The third one is telling others secrets of people. Somebody gave you a secret and you just keep on sharing the secret. And the Prophet ﷺ says, Al-Majalis bil-Amanat. That means when you are in a special place and then somebody tells you something and you go away, that is a trust that you have to keep in your heart. Never tell it to others. The Prophet ﷺ says, if somebody tells you something and then he just turns his face, that is a trust now. Don't tell it to anybody else. The same thing if somebody asks you a consultation. You're not allowed to go and tell people what he told you. He's trusting you and telling you his consult, and he's asking you to consult him. And this, he says, if somebody asks you a consultation, you are allowed either to tell him, to give him a consultation, or to keep silence. But when you speak, if it's something bad, you have to tell him it's bad. He told you, I'm thinking that I would fornicate with somebody. No, no, that's haram. I'm thinking that I would go to somewhere, so and so. No, don't go there. There are nasty guys there. So you're not allowed to do that. It is you're allowed to tell somebody what somebody said about bad about him, to scatter the enemies or the nasty guys, to make them fight with each other and then avoid their evil acts, or to warn somebody who is, there's a serious matter, they might kill him or affect him or put him in prison or whatever. So you go to him, you tell him, be aware, these guys are doing something bad for you. And it's haram to tell anybody about what you do in your bed with your wife. And that's a trust. The Prophet ﷺ says it's like a Satan who marries a female Satan, and then they go telling people what they did. It's a very nasty act. And the Prophet ﷺ says the worst people in the eye of Allah, it's somebody who goes with his wife and she goes with him, sexual acts, and then they go and tell people what they did. That's Ibn Umar radiallahu anhu was asked about something happened between him and his wife. So he says it's very bad to say something happened, to say the secret of my wife. Then he divorced her. They told him, why did you divorce her? He says, I'm not allowed to speak about someone that she's not my wife anymore. So he didn't want to say anything about that. The Prophet ﷺ, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran called the one who tells people what others said about them fasiq, rebellions. إِن جَاءَكُمْ فَاسِقٌ بِنَبَإٍ فَتَبَيَّنُوا. If a rebellion came to you and told you an information, don't take it as a true information until you go and be sure about it. So you're not allowed to listen to people who tell you what people said bad